Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There you go, right down there. If you want to be among the first to hear my weekly takes, NFL, college football, more, right there.
Do you remember when Peter Schrager was Mahomes' rookie year? Veach gave him a little tape and he put it out there, a little inside, like this is what's coming. Do you have any of that on Tom Brady's calls for Fox here in the spring that you've got your hands on that you can shed some light on?
Well, first of all, Greg Olsen was so good, I think it actually plays into Brady's favor. Like he's really replacing somebody that was excellent. And so I think, in my career, when I've replaced somebody that's really good, Tony Kornheiser, you just work harder. You're like, Jesus, I'm replacing sort of an iconic Northeast guy. I think Brady would work hard regardless.
Never been a knock on
the one
Tom.
thing, though, the one thing Fox does really well, like every network I've worked at, when I first got to ESPN, George Bodenheimer came from sales. ESPN's ability to monetize every part of that network was really a thing to behold. Then John Skipper comes in. He has a literary background. He creates ESPN. The magazine gets bigger, ESPN.com. I thought some of our journalism, the writing, Bill Simmons, that flourished. Eric Shanks, the sports president at Fox, he grew up in a truck. So the quality of production and announcing teams is really high at Fox, much better than ESPN, in my opinion, on average. They had to take Buck and Aikman to elevate theirs. So, the one thing about Fox is they don't miss a lot they don't miss on play-by-play guys and analyst guys. They just don't. I think it's what the network does better than everybody because our president, he started overseas in a truck and it matters like where you come from. George Bodenheimer, sales. Skipper I'll contend that Skipper didn't really like TV. He loved books. I thought the quality of writing and Grantland exploded. Fox is tremendous in terms of production. They took over golf, and golf is really hard because golf fans are purists. People that watch it love it. And they remember Joe Buck did it.
Yeah.
It was
Buck and
the
Greg
first
Norman.
year. Yeah, in the first year, it wasn't clunky. You could feel it wasn't theirs. It wasn't like CBS doing the Masters. By the second year, I was like, this is pretty good. They had everything mic'd. I was like, I was watching. I think it was in the Pacific Northwest.
There was a
tournament.
Bay, because Joe Klatt was doing it, Shane Bacon. They had a good crew. I enjoyed it too.
I was like, they're giving me audio I've never heard. This is you have to be fair as a critic. It's pretty good. World Cup. I think our World Cup coverage is sensational. Now, I also think there's so many good soccer voices in Europe. So the bar is really high. But I tend to think is Brady will be really good because it's what Fox does. Our big game production, college football, NFL, World Cup, NASCAR, it's really good.
That's a good point because Joe Buckley's like, who do you got in the bullpen? Kevin Burkhardt and Joe Davis. Mariano Rivera come out of the bullpen. I'm excited to see Tom because I don't know if you saw Drew Brees got inducted in the Hall of Fame and he was complaining that he got a raw deal. And it's like, I watched you.
Yeah.
Obviously, no one disputes your knowledge of football and your playing career. But not everyone, like I always thought Phillip Rivers would have been remarkable on TV. He was made for it.
Yeah.
To me, Drew's much more made to be like John Lynch running a team. Like I don't think it suits him very well. Where Tom he can play the corporate guy like Peyton Manning, but you see him on the roast. Like there's the reason he's the number one teammate in the history of the league. So I would imagine that first game, Cleveland, Dallas. What do you think? That's getting a 20% bump for the Tom Brady. Just people interested in seeing what this is going to sound like. It's going to be a lot of eyeballs on that game.
Yeah, and I think Tom will be diligent and thorough, and that's what he is. I know this.
CBS had a talk with Romo about playing golf. Like that's not happening with Tom.
Like Brady's putting in a lot of hours. Like I don't keep track of it. But sometimes I will see somebody in the building. I'll say, well, what's that? And they're like, oh, Tom's in the building today. And I'm like, it's like the seventh time. So like, and it's, again, every network I've been at, like every manager I've had or GM or president, they all do something well. So he's getting world-class coaching. And he's, the thing about Tom is Tom has been, everything is big with Tom, like commercials. He can't do everything's Like when he's on with me, I had him on, I think a week ago. I asked my first question. He went like 4 minutes and it was fascinating. Like I had Chris Ballard, the Colts GM, called me 2 days later. He said, I was just listening to that. And he said, boy, hey, he's really good. He's like, Tom's really gave thoughtful answers on this stuff. So it's, and I had two other people that didn't call me, but reached out in the league and they were like, he's going to be fine. So I don't worry about it. I mean, I also think, and this is not a knock at critics because you do have to write a column after his first broadcast, right? If you're Andrew Marchand, you have to write a column, right? Like, or Brian Curtis at the Ringer. You're not going to not
There'll be
talk
25
about it.
pieces on
But
that
I do,
on Monday.
Yeah. But I do think the people that I look at in that space who I respect, and I just named two of them, I think everything, I mean, I've been doing this for 33 years. I've worked with all sorts of different people on the air. I always felt, even doing 3 hours a day, it took me about 6 weeks to figure out your timing so that I can talk, you can come in, I can feed. It takes 6 weeks. Well, 6 weeks to me is 30, what is that, 30 shows? Think about that. Like Tom has got to be good first show. Like, here we go. So it to me, I thought, again, I thought Olsen was so good with Burkhart. I always think Buck and Aikman's strength was they sound like on the flight home, they're taking the same private jet home, having a bourbon and telling jokes. Like Summerall and Madden. You're like, oh, these guys, they like each other. I thought Burkhart and Olsen had that. And I think that'll be that chemistry thing. It's hard to develop. And it's you can like somebody. I remember when Bomani Jones and Pablo Torre got a show called High Noon at ESPN, and they were friends. And I remember calling somebody because I had watched clips of it. And I called somebody who knew both. And I said, do they like each other? And they're like, oh, they're great friends. And I'm like, it doesn't feel like it. So you can, and again, it's not a shot at either guy. Chemistry's hard.
In life,
that's
in
why,
relationships.
That's why.
I mean, you name it, business, every walk of life.
Yeah. And now put a camera on and go talk to 24 million people with a producer in your ear, a director, you're throwing to Aaron, a Rinaldi piece, pressure. I mean, I've said this before. The hardest thing to do in broadcasting is an analyst for college football because they play 80 guys.
Dual numbers.
Second is NFL.
Guys you never heard of.
But think about this. Tom he'll have to talk 200 times between 8 and 14 seconds. If he boots it once, that's all anybody's going to talk about.
I think it's cool that he just, and I know he got paid a lot of money, but because Peyton had the same opportunity and he basically said, like, I don't really want to travel. I just want to do it. We got one out of the two of them. And I think they both, they're just special personalities. Like, I don't remember this, but when Montana did it and was terrible, I mean, we've seen a lot of guys do it. Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, I would say they've been pretty successful at everything they put their mind to. And Peyton's a good example. Like, I used to watch that when the ESPN broadcast was terrible. And then they get Troy, and it's like, I just want to watch the normal broadcast. I don't watch it as much. But now they bring in Bill. But yeah, there's Tom's gonna have a lot of people talking about him. I don't promise you that much. I'm excited.
Yeah. John Middlekauff, 3 and out, former NFL scout.